Good noon, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. First of all, I would like to thank supporters and friends of Western Washington University and Shirley Osterhaus. Welcome Peace and Justice Center, Veterans for Peace and Peace Actions of Washington, those who organized this event and invited me here on behalf of several people of my country to talk about the ongoing tragedy in my crying country, about the realities of the so-called war on terror by US and NATO, and also brutalities of Islamic fundamentalists. As our friend mentioned earlier that regarding denying of my visa, let me say a few sentences about this, that why the US government is so afraid of giving me visa. I think it has political reason because in the past, each time when I came to the US on behalf of my people, democratic-minded, peace-loving organizations who invited me, and also in some other countries around the world when I attended conferences, there I exposed the wrong policy of the warmongers, wrong politicians who are in power. I tear the mask of the wrong policy of these governments. And I inform justice-loving people of these countries that their governments are bombing, killing innocent civilians under the name of Taliban, these terrorists. And this is not a war on terror. We believe this is a war on innocent civilians. And I informed them that their taxpayer money, billions of dollars, goes into pocket of these warlords, drug lords, and even indirectly to the Taliban. And I think that these are the reason, or this is something that warmongers in White House, they can't bear as they try to use their huge propaganda machine, the corporate media, to hide these bitter realities from your eyes. But if US government and these Western governments, they are bombing and killing innocent civilians, innocent people of my country, but we are so honored and happy that peace-loving, justice-loving people of these countries stand in solidarity with us and raise their voices strongly against the wrong politician of their government, against occupation for democracy and peace. So a few years ago, US puppet regime, Hamid Karzai's regime, imposed ban on my travel abroad. And now US government refused to give me visa. But I want to tell from your microphone that they never can block my voice and they never can stop me from spreading my message on behalf of my people against occupation and for democracy and peace around the world. 10 years ago, US and NATO, they invaded my country under the beautiful banner of women's rights, human rights, and democracy. But today we are as far from these values as were in 2001. While there are many media hypes in the West about improving women's condition, but the women of my country today, even they do not have human life. Killing of women that much easy for the warlords in Taliban like killing a bird. Rape cases, domestic violences, acid attacks, poison the girls' schools, burning their schools, and many other violences against women increasing rapidly, even historical. The Time cover story of Bibi Aisha is a clear example of misusing the plight of Afghan women as war propaganda. The headline says, "What's happening to the women of Afghanistan if we leave?" But it was better if they wrote, "What is happening to the women of my country while they are there?" And as I tip off the iceberg, that I told you a few examples of their crimes. And many people ask me that how they should support Afghan women. But my answer is this. First of all, war will never help Afghan women. Secondly, if the US and NATO, they let us a little bit breathe in peace, then we know what to do with our destiny. And I'm sure the progressive Afghan women will stand in solidarity with us, will be united with us to bring women's rights, human rights in our country. And during these 10 years, almost 10 years of occupation, tens of thousands of innocent civilians has been killed, most of them women, children, and men. Even use white phosphorus cluster bomb and bombing our wedding parties. And maybe you hear the story, the report of Spiegel regarding the kill team, few soldiers who killed the innocent people of my country and make fun with their dead bodies. And I want to tell you the photo is new, but the murderers is not new for our people. In the past also they did massacres. In my own province last year 150 civilians in one day has been killed, even used white phosphorus, most of them women and children. Recently in Kunar province, 65 innocent civilians has been killed, again most of them women and children. After this war crime, again 9 more children in the same province in another village has been killed recently by these occupation forces. And I want to tell you to bring these few soldiers for their brutalities and describe to the court is just priceless. First of all, they should brought this Minister of the War, Robert Gates, and General David Petraeus to the court that they searched these troops and for bombing and killing innocent civilians, innocent people of my country. They should be questioned. First of all, Barack Obama should be questioned for this warmonger policy that has. Just want to hide their larger big crimes that they are committing and put dust in the eyes of the people around the world. They are telling you they will bring to the court these few soldiers, while the soldiers themselves are the victim of the wrong policy of their government, send them for war, for massacres. And when Barack Obama took office, his first news for my people was more conflict and more war. His foreign policy quite like similar, like Bush, even dangerous than Bush. The surge of troops, the outcome was more tragedies, more miseries, more bloodshed, and more massacres. At least few examples I told you. And now he invited even terrorist Taliban, Mullah Omar, this terrorist man and a fascist man like Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, to join this puppet Arab mafia regime of Hamid Karzai. So situation will be more bloody, more disaster, especially for the women of my country. He is expanding war not only in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Pakistan, and now start this brutal war in Libya as well. That's why in these 2 years, Barack Obama proved himself for my people just a second and even dangerous push. And it seems that shedding blood of countless innocent civilians, innocent people, was not enough in Iraq and Afghanistan, that Obama administration again used the UN as umbrella to invade Libya under the same familiar false banners of democracy and human rights. While the US people are suffering as a result of the economic crisis and living conditions are getting worse, the Pentagon wages this another brutal war, which will only benefit the US corporate and billionaires to loot the oil and other riches of Libya. Obama raised hue and cry against Gaddafi's regime and his crimes, while in the meantime support much more dirtier Gaddafi regimes in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Israel, in Saudi Arabia, and many other countries. The document released by WikiLeaks exposed the treachery of the US government, the treachery policy of the US government, and prove what I have been saying about war in my country. And when they kill my people, innocent people of my country, then shamelessly they decrease the number of civilian deaths and call them insurgents, terrorists, through mainstream media. And now Afghanistan is ranked 181st out of 182 countries in the Human Development Index. And according to the Mines Minister, Afghanistan is sitting on around $3 trillion of mineral deposits, but because it's the second most corrupt country in the world, and the income of these mines would fill the pockets of the government officials, these warlords, drug lords, and also their foreign masters. In these 9 years, they changed my country to the center of the drug. Today, 93% of opium produced from Afghanistan. Even New York Times will report brother of Hamid Karzai, Ahmad Wali Karzai, is a famous drug trafficker and also in the payroll of CIA. My people call him a small bush in Kandahar province. And since 2001, 4,400% opium increased, and many other examples. And they do dirty business with opium, billions of dollars received from this drug and opium. And US and NATO, they try to fool Afghan people and also their own people too by telling them we will leave Afghanistan by mid of 2011, which is a big lie. From another hand, Karzai's puppet regime is talking about permanent military bases in my country, which is clear they will not leave my country soon. They are there because of their own strategic, regional, and economic interests. That's why they keep the situation of Afghanistan lawless, unsafe, insecure, especially for the women. Then they have very good excuse for you through the mouthpiece of this warmongers, I mean mainstream media, to stay longer there and justify their occupation. And I want to tell you that no one can believe that a superpower with massive military machine is really unable to defeat a bunch of killers like Taliban. I'm sure most of you know the background of the Taliban. Who created these terrorists, who destroyed their domination, and who is playing right now the game of Tom and Jerry with these terrorists. Don't want to lose them. And now they invite these terrorists also to join the government to create more obstacles, more problems, more risk for democratic-minded few parties. We have more than parties, intellectuals. They want to make more powerful their puppet regime, this mafia regime. Then even if one day they leave Afghanistan, for example, then easily they can control indirectly as well, while they are now day by day expanding their military bases here. And I think justice-loving people of the world, great people of the US, they agree with my people that democracy never comes by military invasion. Democracy never comes by cluster bomb, by bombing our wedding parties, by killing innocent civilians, innocent people of my country, most of them women and children. That's why we fed up from this occupation. Now, my people, they say, we don't expect anything good from you, just to stop wrongdoing. Stop arming the warlords and Taliban. And right now, there is two kinds of resistance going on in my country. One is reactionary resistance of the Taliban, that always mainstream media, especially this government, Western governments, they are trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. But never they give report about resistance of ordinary Afghan people, resistance of the student of the university, resistance of these suffered poor people of Afghanistan, men and women, that they come on the streets and raise their voice day by day more against occupation, against these blind bombardments of these occupiers. And this is hope. This is positive for the future of Afghanistan. Recently, one democratic-minded party, the name is Afghanistan Solidarity Party, in some provinces of Afghanistan, in Kabul, in Herat, in Mazar Sharif, in Jalalabad, in Farah province, they had demonstration. Hundreds of people joined their demonstration against the occupation and cruel regime, fascist regime of Iran. But unfortunately, media never gave report of these resistance. And they are telling you if the troops leave Afghanistan, the civil war will happen. But nobody is talking about today's civil war. As long as these troops will be in my country who are bombing from the sky and their government give dollars and guns to these warlords and Taliban, the worst civil war will be there. And our enemies get more powerful. So now my people, they squash between three enemies: occupation forces, warlord, and Taliban. With the withdrawal of occupation forces, who double our miseries, then we will fight two internal enemies instead of three. The backbone of these warlords will break. And the positive point is that, the hopeful point is that my people hate the warlords and also Taliban. and they will fight steadfastly till the end against these terrorists because of the hatred that they have for them. And the history bears witness that only the nations can liberate themselves. So now I would like to ask all of you peace-loving people of the US around the world, justice seekers, democratic-minded organizations, parties, groups, anti-war organizations, that they are the ones who should stand in solidarity with us and also raise their voice against the wrongdoing, wrong policy of their governments, and especially support us educationally, because I strongly believe education is a key toward emancipation. As one of our sisters mentioned earlier, our friend, that today is the anniversary of dear Martin Luther King, this extraordinary man, freedom-loving fighter man, who I'm sure inspires millions around the world. We are following their path. We are trying to be the small students of them as long as we are alive. So let me conclude today's event with a quote of this extraordinary freedom-loving fighter person, who says that our lives begin to end the day we become silent. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressed. It must be demanded by, freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Heartfelt thanks once again for your solidarity and support. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take questions here, but I have to warn you, I'm very intolerant. I'll give you 2 sentences to ask your question, because we have about 500 people here. Ask your questions, fair warning, Malala gives long answers. It doesn't take much to get her started. So if you have a question, come on down. Remember, 2 sentences.
String along these questions. I'm a veteran. I served in Jalalabad, outside of Jalalabad. I'd just like to ask you if you could go more deeply into what we can do here. We all know to write our congressperson. We all know to be part of the protests and talk and communicate with our communities. But what really needs to be done? What do the people of Afghanistan need to see from us to make this end?
You know, always I'm saying when the enemies of our people, they get unite. I mean, enemies of democracy, women's rights, human rights, and not only in Afghanistan, in other countries, these warmongers, wrong politicians. Why we should not be united? And of course, our unity is very important. And this is a question always from the audience when I attend on behalf of my people, from justice-loving people. I face that. That's why one chapter of my book I dedicated to this important question, how we can help each other. Today the world is very small, like a village. Today we have Facebook, we have Twitter. We can help each other if we want a lot. You can put pressure on your politician, true democratic-minded politician of your country, that end this brutal war, this occupation, in the name of the great American people. And also, you can join your hands with anti-war organizations of your country, peace-loving organizations, and together raise your voices strongly against your wrong policies of your government. And I agree with Patrick Tyler. She says in the world is two superpower besides US government is the world public opinion. They are putting still dust in the eyes of good people around the world. So please read some books, first of all. For example, if you want to help Afghan people, one book of the honest writer is enough. When you read, then it helps you to know first who is the enemies, and this chess game in Afghanistan by big powers. especially wrong policy of your government. For example, you can read the book of Eyes for Infidel, Ghost War, Bleeding Afghanistan. You can read the book of Robert Dreyfus, the name is Devil's Game. If you want by email, I can give the name of these books as well. One of these books, when you read, you know very well what's going on in our country, and you yourself found your way that how to help each other. And contact brave democratic-minded journalists of your country to do interviews with democratic-minded activists, anti-war activists, few parties that we have, modern parties, intellectuals, do interview with them, bring their message to you. Financially support some of their projects, especially educational support. It is a key, as I told you, these women, when they have education, they never build themselves. They exchange to strong, brave, feminist women, activist women. So there are many other examples that if we want, we can help each other, especially the glorious uprising happened in some Middle East countries. You see how Facebook and Twitter the role of this was how much positive and hopeful.
That I have is about the Afghani reaction to the horrendous and horrible burning of the Quran that happened in the United States. And I wish that you could talk about that a little bit. And I'm very sorry that people were inclined to do such a horrendous thing.
Nowadays it become a big issue not only in Afghanistan, even this news come here as well. But behind of this news is the hint of, I believe, the hint of these warlords. Because in Mazar Sharif, they are Taliban not that much powerful. The warlords like Atal Mahmad, the governor of this province, who very close in contact of CIA, and also Abdul Rashid Dostum, this killer. You can see in Human Rights Watch website to know more about this war-known killer. They are very powerful there. So they misuse from the emotion of the people, and also most people are not educated. This is also another weak point, that they can be sometimes misled and misuse from their emotions. So why they did this? Because today many miseries, many tragedies, war crises that everybody should think about, must think about. But they want to focus the people to the second-hand issues, to forget the main issues. About, for example, our people, they have no problem with this Islam at all as a most population Muslim. Their problem is with political Islam of Sayyaf, Mullah Omar, Osama bin Laden, Khanuni, Dostum, Ismail Khan, these bunch of killers who are in power, these warlords and also Taliban. So they make situation like this, that from the muddy water catch their own fishes. Anyway, don't be deceived by this, and people, I feel that people are always the victims and they misuse from their emotions. Of course they come. The victim is the innocent civilians when they come on the streets and they get angry why they burn the Holy Quran. Who has been killed? These poor workers of UN has been killed. Not the family of the warlords or these warlords or Taliban or their foreign masters. Anyway, for their own interest, dirty agendas, always they are creating this kind of issues, second-hand issues, that to forget the main issues. Even in Western countries, I hear, once I was in France, they are telling me, the journalists for the launching of the book, everyone asking me, Malalai, what do you think about the hijab that nowadays in our parliament is a big issue in the media, that to wear hijab or not, especially girls' schools. I said, this is just a personal issue. To wear hijab or not, scarf or not, but how about these many other miseries, especially your sergeant troops supporting your government, supporting the warlords? That's the issue should be focused. Anyway, this is just a trick that they use, as I said.
My question is, people may have seen that we're bringing Cindy Sheehan to speak here at campus. She's a leading anti-war activist. Her son was killed in Iraq, and she has recently been concluding that capitalism is the root cause of war. As long as a few corporations are privately owned by a few people who are competing for profits and power and resources, we're endlessly going to be having war and war over and over again. And I'm wondering if you agree with her that we need to also not only fight against war, but fight against capitalism and fight for democratic socialism. I was curious what your thought is.
Yes, of course, capitalism also another main problem. And this right now in my country, for example, this privatization is another big neo-enemy for my people. Day by day widening the gap between rich and poor. And they have their own interests, corporate media, corporate politicians, etc. Yes.
I was wondering if your feelings about Obama have changed, if at the beginning of his election you felt differently, and if you think there's any point in party politics, if there's any major difference in foreign policy between the two major parties in the United States, Republicans and Democrats. Thank you.
Obama's foreign policy quite similar like Bush, even dangerous than Bush sometimes. And unfortunately, I know most people, even some of my supporters, they were hopeful for Obama. They have been deceived. Even some very strong anti-war activists provide empty banners of hope and change. I believe that as long as the system is in power, the figures never bring positive changes, just meaningless. You experience at least here. And anyway, Obama this 2 years proved himself for my people just a warmonger. Because the worst massacre was in the period of Barack Obama. In my own province, I told you 150 civilians has been killed. Day by day, their crimes get exposed. Some has been exposed by WikiLeaks, you can see. And now it is open secret. He and Bush put price on the head of terrorist Gulbuddin, but Barack Obama invited Gulbuddin to join the government, without at least to say apologize to my people. And they are telling you we are negotiating with the moderate Taliban. I think Mullah Omar is not moderate. He's just an extremist terrorist with bloody hands. And I said if we put all the crimes of the Taliban aside, just because of destruction of Buddha's statue, they are unforgivable. Our history will never forgive them. So Barack Obama's administration invited them. Now this war in Libya, how about that? Which is clear that the Gaddafi removed, but that yet Gaddafi will come in power, because behind of this brutal war is the hand of the warmongers. What they did in Iraq and Afghanistan is only two last examples, US government. Which kind of regime now they have in Iraq? A puppet regime. Same in my country. A shameless puppet man like Karzai, a Qatan hero in power, but under his code, all of these viruses, all of these germs, all of these terrorists. That's why situation day by day getting worse and worse. Anyway, I think this few examples is enough to know about Obama. The drone attack in Pakistan since Obama came in power took the life of too many innocent people in the border area. And many, many other examples. How much money? Every year, $300 million alone for this disgusting war for their occupation they use in Afghanistan. How many poor people US has right now, I'm sure, millions. And many other examples. Anyway, he must stop this disgusting war. And very close with Israel. What's going on in Gaza right now, in Palestine? And many other examples.
I'd like to know what your proposed, I guess, action for the UN to take in these matters of international political crisis.
Suppose that they are leaving from this opportunity, let me give you my email address. This is mj@malalayjoya.com, MALALAIJOYA, because maybe you will have questions in 1 hour, few hours, even 1 day is not enough to bring the message and to help each other. So any question you have, just feel free and ask, and hopefully to be more united with each other. Role of United Nations, unfortunately very passive. Why? Let me give you one example. After 9/11 and Conference of Bonn, it was under the control of UN as well. They were there, their representatives. At least nobody listened our voice, but somebody, I'm sure, world is listening to them, and they have this opportunity. When they replaced the Taliban with the warlords, photocopy of the Taliban, but UN was silent on that time. They could raise their voice because they know very well these war-known killers that who did civil war from 92 to 96. Alone in Kabul, they killed more than 65,000 innocent people, looted our museums, destroyed our national unity, raped our old grandmothers, many other crimes, same like Taliban, many similarity. But they were silenced. These terrorists with bloody hands, being shaved with suit and tie, they come in power and close on my people. And many other examples, even accusing us of corruption. Anyway, their role is passive, and now under the shadow of UN, you see that under the umbrella of UN, they start this brutal war in Libya as well. I wish that UN activists, I have some supporter among them. I had meeting with groups of them in some countries, and in person also I criticized them. And I pass now this message to you at Tribune as well. Please try to be different, to be active, raise your voice against this war.
You mentioned the increase in opium production, poppy production in Afghanistan. I was wondering that you said one of the things about stabilizing the country is reintegrating the economy and destroying the illicit and legitimate economy. How would you reintegrate the opium warlord, everyone involved in that whole system, into a legitimate economy? Where would we get it?
You are right, but if we had a democratic system, at least if we had their half-hearted democracy, at least there we didn't have this puppet mafia corrupt regime. And I know in some country from opium they make medicine for positive changes in the life of the people, their people they use. But in our country, just for their own dirty business. So many women, so many children even addicted with opium. They lost their lives, so many youths. Anyway, the problem is with the system. That's why this kind of agenda or this kind of request that you say that program or these plans is not successful, not possible to be done because of this mafia regime that we have. I told you, brother of Hamid Karzai is a famous drug trafficker. Hamid Karzai himself publicly to the media, and also one of his ministers, Interior Minister, Ali Ahmed Jalali. He's right now in the US, in one university of the US, he's teacher. He was in power, this minister of Karzai. He said 4 persons have high posts in Karzai's regime. They are famous drug traffickers, but still the name of these famous drug laws in the pocket of this man, and he's in the West. Karzai himself says our regime was to puppet, I made them powerless, while I believe those who are in power, the government itself is a puppet. Anyway, himself is a puppet man, shameless puppet man. But never expose the name of these puppets to my people. And some of his ministers, their corruption has been exposed, like Inayatullah Qasimi and some other, like Siddiq Chakari, few other. You know, their corruption, they exposed millions of dollars they stole. Then, with a small bag, they are coming to the West as VIP, respect them, and they have good life here. Vice President of Karzai, Zia Masood, $52 million, even WikiLeaks exposed, he bring with him from the Dubai airport from Kabul airport to the Dubai, but nobody asked him where this money is going, how you got this money, and who gave you. The system, the problem is with the system. All these miseries are because of the system.
Curious if you think that Americans should still vote for Obama in the presidential election year because he's supposedly a lesser evil to Republicans, or should we be also working to reform the Democratic Party to make it more left-wing, or do you think that we should break from these two corporate parties and build an independent party?
Let me tell you that everyone can talk very beautiful about democracy, women's rights, human rights, even some war criminals, some war makers. In my country, fundamentalists, they learn very beautiful talking about democracy. But this is the great people of the US that they should see their policy, especially practical activities they see, where the background of a person is very important to see, then get decision to vote. I'm sure that even some of my supporters, they tell me, Malala, because we fed up from Bush, we voted to Obama. Anyway, but I told you that foreign policy of CIA is not something after 5 years has been changed. And the figures never bring in that. Even sometimes, I believe if Barack Obama raise the voice against this wrong policy. Even the destiny was like John F. Kennedy, but had huge, huge positive impact. So you see the campaign now. I believe more than theory, more than ideologically, that they are talking beautiful, practical as well. Please see their background and their action, then vote for